Putting your work on public display for the first time can be a daunting task for the most creative of artists. Even more so when you're a well-known celebrity. But for comedian Johnny Vegas, his exhibition at the Private and Public's Gallery represents a chance to show a different side of his story. Recognised across the British Isles for his broad Lancashire accent, panel show appearances and surreal sense of humour, it's a passion he's sharing for the first time. The comedian turned artist spoke to me, James Jeune, about the pressures and vulnerability of his debut exhibition, how art can help people overcome mental health issues, and what he thinks of Jersey's tortoise takeover. I first asked him what he'd been up to since arriving in the island.
We did a bit of exploring, got around the island, but we came straight here because I walked in, we couldn't wait to see the work exhibited in a gallery space. We had a chat with Chris about what might work, and I was dropping the prints off because I'd got them here safely, which was miraculous, so I thought we'd deliver the goods. And then we just went out and about, got in the car. I wanted to see the entire island, and
any particular restaurants or places you've eaten, things you've done?
Been to Bohemia.
Bohemia, very nice.
Very, really treated ourselves on Tuesday. It's phenomenal. I'm a secret, well, not a secret, but I'm a foodie and I'm a chef stalker. And Kenny Atkinson, was good to go. So
that was the standout, and I think we saw you at El Tico as well.
El Tico, yeah.
What did you make of that? Down by the beach
breakfast there yesterday. That was great. It's lovely. I'm a big lighthouses are my thing. I'm terrible with names, but it was the lighthouse that we wanted to track down and go along that coastline. But I want to tomorrow. My thing is to head out in the morning and drive around the entire circumference of the island and
really check it out.
I really want to explore, and I've got my easel. I've got paints, and I've been watching Jim Moore, the Reeves paints birds, and brilliant series on Sky. And he's really inspired me. I've never ever done landscapes. I never thought I was really very good at capturing light, and I don't think I'd have a natural palette. But he's inspired me to go down that abstract route.
And you think Jersey would be a good place for you to give it a go?
Oh, it's fantastic. Since watching it, the way the days have gone so far, I've not had that lazy day, and I'm missing the sun at the right points, and I'm going, I wonder what it's going to do to those rocks, and I wonder what it's going to do to the water, and I wonder, you know what I mean? I really, really could quite
any particular spots
lose
that
myself
you've
here.
seen already, what you really want to get down there and paint, potentially? Any bays or...?
Any and all the bays. I want to paint the lighthouse. I know many people will have done, but I want my version of it. My thing is I'm awful with names, so I know in my head which bays I want to go to.
Yeah.
But I've not seen all of it. And I think there's a bit of competitiveness when people go, well, have you been to this side? You must go to that side, and we've got better bays. And so I'm just going to go with my eyes.
Fantastic.
You know what I mean? I'm a gut feelings, but as always, what's lovely is I left it open about returning, and I was like, look, I might have to go back on Friday. Now I've already decided it's Saturday. I can't really book the clocks. It's a good sign somewhere when the clock's running too quick.
Yeah, so fair to say.
I could do with the Sunday, I could do with the full Saturday, I could do with... So, yeah, I mean, certainly, definitely in no rush to get away.
Brilliant. So far a fan, minus the traffic, I think.
The traffic, me and the traffic are not seeing eye to eye. I'll confess that. One is massively my fault, and that person on the bend this morning, I profusely apologise. It was all down to me. Oh, lovely. Thanks, Chris.
Brilliant.
But then other people, when I got stuck in the one-way system here, I can't help but I know the people give me that look of going, well, look who it is. oh, can't work out the traffic system, can we? And they're just taking a tremendous amount of joy. You know, when you go, I'm running late, mate, please. I'm new to this island, but yeah.
One thing you may have noticed is the Tortoise Trail. I'd be keen to get your take on that work of local artists and...
Genuinely, really, I'm incredibly impressed, and I'm impressed with the standard of them. You know what I mean? The work that's been placed upon them. Yeah, and I noticed that they're going to be auctioned off, aren't they?
Yeah.
I bet they're way beyond my price range. Because I genuinely had this discussion with Matt about one for the garden. Because I do. I think they've done incredibly well, but I love... in fact...
Sounds like you've
it
picked out a few that you might want to take home.
Yeah, I like the tortoise based on algae at night, or is it? There's a particular light show that the sea puts on, and I think the tortoise is based on that. It's in the kind of blues and greens. That I really, really like.
Right. Well, if that one goes missing, I'll know who to blame.
Yeah. It's in the back of the it's in the back of the hire car.
Yeah. A lot of people...
Johnny Vegas did a run in a hire car on the ferry back to the UK.
I think the other passengers might notice, but we won't try for that one. I'm sure readers and listeners will be curious as to why you chose Jersey for your debut show. I mean, I'm sure you had lots of options. Why Jersey?
Actually, Jersey kind of chose me, very fortunately, and it's been... I've been really, really fortuitous. I started working a while back on an idea of a piece of public art, and through that exploration I met Emma Rogers, who's obviously exhibiting here, and I was busy on set, I was filming, and I received a message from Emma going, would you like to include some pieces in the show here? And she'd said she had not coming show in Jersey, and I was like, and it was a moment of into the deep end. I was like, do you think I'm ready? And she was like, oh, get over yourself.
Did you feel ready?
I don't think you ever feel ready for that first one. We had the Q&A last night, and I had a disastrous graduation, you know what I mean? It didn't go well 30 years ago, and I'd spent a lot of time licking my wounds and fearful of that. And I've loved making again since, but it's took a lot to convince me this is of that standard. I've been very fortunate with the artists and people who I've spoken to and shown my work to. They've been incredibly generous and said, you're an artist.
Did you feel almost more comfortable starting in Jersey then, as opposed to London maybe, where it's
no,
a little bit bigger?
No. Do you know what? I'd say it's quite the opposite, because you've got a smaller population. Do you know what I mean? So your percentages are down about how it might be. It could be universally disliked, rejected, whatever, and you'll know that you can sort of tell that they're going to be very discerning here, and that they're going to know their art. And there are people with the finances to buy art. You know what I mean? You'll have quite a high collection of collectors here who know the stuff. So you actually, this is the lion's den. It's great that the public will come in, but there will be collectors here, and there's the
pressure.
Can it cross that divide, and can it be something that outside of Johnny Vegas, did you know Johnny Vegas was portrait? It's that credibility for people to want to add that to their collection, which is a massive sort of...
Massive, and was there pressure because of that? Did you need a little bit of encouraging to sort of put yourself out there, the vulnerability, I suppose, of it?
That's why Emma's been such a good mentor, that in the end I just said, if you think it, will you show me the pieces that you're thinking of packing? Because I have a studio at home, but I work out of Emma's as well.
Okay.
So the ceramics on the show here, I've made all of them whilst being with Emma, chatting and working. And she's introduced me to bronze casting, which is fantastic. I'm loving it.
Enjoying that.
That's like, yeah, it's like a loving new Egyptian. the prints and things I was working on whilst I was away filming, and she said they were going to have the exhibition. I mean, that is, I think my confidence grew once I saw him in the space.
Yeah. I
was confident enough to say to Chris, I have these prints that I'm working on with the printer, you know what I mean, to get the quality to where I want them, and I'm going to bring them over, see what you think.
Brilliant.
So that was a big leap of faith of choosing something myself.
Sure.
To bring. So I'm loving the process of making and creating. I'm finding it incredibly cathartic, but yeah, I would say now that's a real sort of turn in the corner to decide.
Well, exhibiting obviously a fresh experience, but as your first trial run goes, you're happy with it?
I'm thrilled.
Fantastic.
I'm allowing myself to be proud of it.
Brilliant.
And I think as someone who's leans towards catastrophising, do you know what I mean? It was great walking in the room and letting yourself enjoy.
Yeah.
The first reaction. Work, and it was lovely meeting folk last night at the Q&A and hearing their opinions on it. Because I'm a great believer, and I think I just from way back in my stand-up, and I've always argued the case of with anything is, if you want to display it, you have got to accept feedback, be it critical or positive. That's what you do. You put yourself out into that, you throw yourself into the public arena, and that is the whole point of me wanting to create a piece of art back in my hometown, is because without getting too political, art is being squeezed out of education. And it's been put in that corner. It's been treated as a hobby. It's not. It was my saviour when I was younger with an education. It's how I managed to go on to further education, and in later in life, it's come back and it's rescued me from a mental health point of view. Do you know what I mean? I recently diagnosed ADHD. Suddenly, it makes sense that within art, it's the one place where the ADHD is a benefit. And having all these ideas and having this white noise, and when I sit down and work, it's the only time that settles. So I'm very passionate about, especially youngsters, they've got gifts and they're not being recognised, or they're not being allowed to. And art, we've got to be very careful that it doesn't become something for the privileged. It's got to be for the many. The greatest artist out there.
No, certainly. And
he's living in a block of flats somewhere at the top. You know what I mean? But if he doesn't get access to this, and it's not encouraging school, and just because you can't do science or maths, you've got, and a massive part of the economy is fed by the creative arts, and the amount of jobs out there that I didn't know about in film and TV. Like I always say, I would have done set design. I'd have been a prop builder and designer. I'd have known that existed. I was obsessed with that, and when I've directed, I've loved hanging out with the art department and the prop department. But nobody told me at school that these little models I was making could potentially be a career.
Yeah.
And that being squeezed in now, for me, art it's just come along at the time in my life, and without getting too deep, I lost my parents. I went through a very difficult period, and suddenly I found something that's in the safe space. And it's in a safe space, and yeah, you venture out, when you exhibit, you venture out of that safe space and you go, what do you think, to the public. But that public art piece, you go, well, yeah, there's no precarious way where you can suddenly be hated. And, with the Jester piece that you were looking at, one of the bronzes here, that notion of success and what is success, and when you're on TV, so you're doing really well. If personally something isn't feeling quite right with your life, or what you want to, suppose not achieve, but is that a fully formed representation of you?
Of you, yes.
Art is that thing of what's deemed as success. So this Jester and this hill that it'll be sat on, and what it'll be surveying of, am I a success? And it kind of started as a joke with my friends, but when you're going, the best way to undermine that success is to create a piece of public art. Because it can divide people. No, me and my friends, I was going, I live in my hometown, you're quite, I'm light, do you know what I mean? People say it's nice that I've never moved away. And then it's like, what's the best way to mess that up? And you go, create a piece of public art. But by an idea and almost joking about it, I've been brought back into it, and then I've just realised what this gap has been in my life. I've gone to shows and I've collected and I buy, but not created myself. And I think I've got that life experience now to go, do you know what, I know enough. And I know I'm going off on a tangent here.
No, well, you've skipped to my final question, which was actually whether the artist side of you or the comedian side of you, which do you feel is the true you? Do you identify more with one or the other?
Well, funny enough, this came up in a conversation last night going, I'm very proud of what Johnny achieved. Johnny's not a creation of mine. Johnny is an alter ego. Right. He's a defence mechanism. He's a part of me that refuses to be intimidated, will not back down, will take any negative, turn it into a positive, and use it, you know what I mean, almost weaponise it back at his own critics. I, as Michael, I'm a natural observer. I'm the person who wants to be sat in the corner, just watching life. And I suppose me as an observer, I fueled Johnny's ability to go, right. But it's not me. And as Michael, I think these gifts, and I think with art, and it was art that encouraged Michael to sort of to venture out of the safety of living at home and go away to college and get all these life experiences. I think it's very much Michael, but Johnny's always there and he's along for the ride. And we were discussing last night, we're going, well, why is Johnny the big signature on it? And you go, because that's Johnny's ego. But the wax stamp is Michael.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because officially I'm taking ownership of this. I'm not dismissing Johnny, I'm not dismissing that bit of my career, but
it's important to have.
It's important that Michael's represented in this because this is a part of me that's always been me, and I don't think there would have ever been a Johnny without Michael and without art.
Certainly, and I do want to go back a couple steps there. Mental health among young islanders is a big topic, and I found it interesting what you said about art potentially as an outlet. Do you think it's quite a good one for helping with those sort of issues? I think it's vital. And I think we have to get beyond that notion of I'm no good at art. Mm-hmm. Because again, you might have done one version of art. There's so many different, I'm working on pieces now with 3D printing. Okay. And it's a valid art for, you know what I mean? It's growing in its validity, so that is printed off clay. Because I'm not a confident painter, but the print displayed there, somehow by painting on clay, I love the textures I get, but it gets rid of that fear. And I think getting people back in, I think Grace and Perry was a great kick up the backside for me, because I made the piece Norman during that lockdown, and that show, I think, people's mental health. If you look at people that were contributing to that in lockdown and who picked up a paint and you know what I mean, or things that we tell ourselves we don't have the time for anymore. Yes. But I can, and I think with my ADHD, my brain wanders off before I've answered the question you've asked me, and it'll be off on a tangent. But with a piece of art, I can put stuff into that I might not be comfortable saying out loud. Yes. But I can pour it into that, and somebody else who may have experienced either the same traumas or the same fears or the same, can look at that and will pick up on it. You know what I mean? This notion of art appreciation, I'm intimidated by fine art, and especially classical paintings. I love Miro because there's a simplistic sort of breakdown to it. I know what's gone into that and what's informed the piece, but I really think art now
is needed more than ever. Just when it's been squeezed at its tightest, I think mental health, definitely, not everybody can verbalise.
And do you feel perhaps it's education's role to try and promote that as much as possible, as well as artists, of course?
Yeah, because not everybody's gifts lie in sciences, not everybody's academic. We've got, there was a fabulous guy, Father Dave, who christened my son, and Chris said, he'd worked in education, and he said, we've got so good at telling children what they're bad at. We forgot to remind them what they're good at. And I honestly think there's so many people who, I think with SATs and everything, I think the pressure on children to achieve
is immense.
And what I love with that, well, with my ex, we were having a discussion about this with my son, with their stepson, and she was saying, no, I love maths. He's great at maths. I said, well, I'm telling you about maths. Well, maths is great because there's only one right answer. And my thing is, but that's why I love art, because there's no right answers. There's no definitive answer in art. And that self-exploration is what I find so therapeutic and so beneficial. And it isn't just because we're trying to create a platform for art. I think mental health-wise, do you know what I mean? It's going to prove one of those essential tools of helping people. And
you certainly feel it's helped you as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got my assessment. I stopped, without this being a big thing of like, I was in mourning, alcohol and self-medicating was a thing, you know what I mean? And all these things that I needed to sort of slow down, and I needed something to assist in that, and that was art. That's become fantastic. My, you know what I mean,
Outlets,
new sort of drug of choice,
right?
If you like. But it's definitely, I'd say it's the one thing. It's the one thing where there's no chemical, there's no counselling, there's nothing involved where the white noise just stops. And I'm excited, and I'm happy, and I'm driven, and I want to get in the studio. And it's okay for my mind to be full. That's the hardest thing with ADHD, is that sometimes you just want to move that cup, and then you overthink it, and then you've done 5 other tasks. With art, it's great that the ideas never stop. And actually, I feel blessed rather than cursed with it.
Brilliant.
You know, and if I'm on the spectrum, then hallelujah, because I couldn't have created these without that.
That's a really good point. I do want to mention you have a BA in art and ceramics. Is that something you're quite happy to be putting to use?
Oh, yeah, I am now. I'm happy I've come back to it. And I've always said the thing with what I will forever be grateful for with art was the desire to want to be original, and the courage of your convictions. And it might have, in some respects, held me back in my career, but I suppose I've always enjoyed the indie productions. It's never scared me not to be mainstream. You know what I mean? If I've seen something I like it, if it's original, if it really means something, I'm happy to be involved in that than be something that's... And I've been in mainstream, highly successful shows, and it's great, it's lovely. I don't actively try not to be successful, but to be original and to stick to your guns and to go, I have no desire to make a pale imitation of something that's already been a success before me. And I think sometimes in film and TV, you know, it's the idea of, that worked, let's make a version of that, and you go, but it's been made. Why don't we do a new version of, you know, something else, or push another idea that's... And so art gave me that confidence. My degree, I got the lowest grade. I came away from it quite hurt, but I think I thought at the time I was going to be, You know what I mean? The new big thing.
Right.
And
What would stick to your guns be your advice?
I got my bum spanked on that one.
Stick to your guns, would that be the advice for local artists? And what do you make of the local art scene here?
Do you know what? It's very easy to say, and I've been very aware of this thing of there's artists who are working for years and struggling for years. And it's quite fair for some people to say, well, haven't you just stepped, you know what I mean? Haven't you sneaked in the back door to think of what you do for your what most people would say is me day job. But then my thing is, I think I always saw stand-up as an art form, as something creative, and what Johnny did. And matter was, I lived on pilchards and beans I used to live on for a fortnight, signing on, you know what I mean? To go and do a gig for nothing. Yeah. In the hope of having a gig a year from now.
Eventually.
But I found something in stand-up when I was doing it that I understood this and I got it. And I wanted to do it. Johnny wanted to do it on his own terms, and it was something that it didn't matter. I'm very, as Michael, very sort of desperate to be liked, and Johnny was very like, no, we're going to do this on our own terms. Now with art, I'm old enough and I think I've matured that I'm going to do this on my own terms. But to artists struggling, I think it's almost like, I think if it's there and if it's in your soul, I don't think you have an option.
That was Johnny Vegas speaking to me at the Private and Publics Gallery where his debut art exhibition went on display. For other art-related news and more, please stay up to date with Bailiwick Express or our sister publication, the Jersey Evening Post. But for now, from the Bailiwick Express team, thanks for listening. More next week.